Have you been playing FPS games and wondering, geez, why am I not improving? Or why am I having such a hard time to improve? Well, in this video, that is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today, is ways and reasons you may not be improving in any FPS games. Now, this could be a FPS game like Valorant, this could be an FPS game like Fortnite, this could be an FPS game like Apex Legends, it could be Overwatch. In this video, you will be seeing a mixture of videos and clips from things that I've recorded through various different FPS games, just so that you can get an idea that this kind of applies to anybody, including myself. Because I found that I've even struggled with some of these tips and some of these things, and I've had to come to a realization that, yeah, this is something that does happen. But anyway, with that being said, my name is FAI. I'm usually an avid FPS player. Mostly I've been focusing on the competition in Valorant and playing Valorant, but I played many other FPS games, and I've had a decent amount of knowledge throughout my time playing through these FPS games to know exactly what I'm talking about, at least to a degree. Most of my videos in this YouTube channel are based around tutorials, tips, tricks, and reviews, even possibly coming soon some VOD reviews. But enough about me. Let's go ahead and get into the video and talk about reasons and why you may not be improving in Valorant or any FPS game. So let's go ahead and go into reason number one. Reason number one why you might not be improving in any FPS game is your crosshair placement may just be terrible. I know this is something that you may hear from plenty of other players, or you may hear plenty of other people talk and say that your aim is bad and you should use aim lab, aim trainer, or something to really get that crazy FPS aim that you're looking at. And in many ways, yes, you can get the crazy aim, but a lot of times, most of us don't realize that our crosshair placement is just terrible. I mean, I've noticed that myself when I played these FPS games. My crosshair placement could be literally on the ground, and I'm looking on the ground, waiting, just kind of looking around, minding my own business, kind of looking like it's La La Land. This is something that happens, especially when you're new to FPS games, especially when you're just starting to play out. Or if you're, like, coming from Apex Legends or something like that, you may have a lot of times where you're just looking at the ground because you're looking for loot. And then your crosshair placement is just terribly set, especially for when it comes to the 1v1 fights and the fights that should have been incredibly easy. But that's the very first reason to why you might be not improving in any FPS game. So how do you improve this? Easily set. You've just got to play the game and try to make it a point to have your crosshair at head to neck level. After that, it's just a matter of, adjusting as you can see fit. But having your crosshair placement around head to neck level means that, in general, you probably will be able to hit this person before they hit you, and you'll be able to react to them before they react to you. So let's go on to the next reason, or the second reason on why you might not be improving on any FPS game. Why you might not be improving on any FPS game, reason number two, is the fact that you might actually just not be understanding that you're part of the problem. A lot of people want to get toxic and blame their teammates. But a lot of times, you gotta realize that you're the problem. You're the one who's going to cause the issue that might make it to where you win or lose. And it's as simple as that. So you've gotta realize that sometimes you are the problem. And that may be one of the main reasons you are just doing terrible. You're not improving, you're not seeing any improvement at all. So, reason number three on why you might be why you might not be improving at all. Reason number three is the factor that you're paying too much attention to the leaderboard. Okay, this is something that you see all the time, is people who want to be on top of the leaderboard. People who want to see their name at the top of the leaderboard. But trust me, a lot of times this could hinder your improvement when you're looking at the leaderboard, because you look at the leaderboard and you're looking at the top of the leaderboard on sometimes in the day, but then other times you're just at the bottom of the leaderboard. But remember, the leaderboard doesn't tell the full story. A lot of the full story is based on how you played. Of course, in the case of Valorant, you could be a duelist and you are expected to be around the top of the leaderboard. But trust me, a lot of the times, did you make impact on those attempts that you got? When you got eliminations or you got somebody, did you make an impact or did they trade you out? You've got to think about that. How many times was it that you got a impact and then no one really traded for free? They just let that go unpunished. A lot of good players are not going to leave one elimination to go unpunished. A lot of times, especially when they're close by, one elimination means that they're going to swing and trade you back, and you're not going to get away with it for free. This happens in the lower tiers a lot of times. In the lower tiers, a lot of times players go with having seen one elimination and they're like, oh well, it's just one elimination, we can catch them back on it, we're not going to punish them for it. And that's where they make the mistake. I've gotten away with, in many games, Apex Legends, Valorant, Overwatch, I've gotten away with a lot of times where I literally go unpunished for taking advantage of one person in a bad position. And this is something that you've got to learn, is your eliminations sometimes have to go exactly to where you intend to punish that person for peeking their head out. Sometimes you get punished, but a lot of times the leaderboard doesn't tell the whole story. And sometimes you've got to determine, how did you make impact on the game? How did you affect the team in some way, shape, or form? That's one of the main reasons why you're probably not improving, is you're paying too much attention to your leaderboard and trying to be on top of the leaderboard because you believe that's how you know that you're improving. Sometimes the full story isn't told by the leaderboard. Moving forward, and this is a reason that I just recently thought of, but of course this is something that I think really does emanate with a lot of players, is the factor that you are not playing in your own game. You're not playing to your advantage. Of course, the team game is always, reason before is, you gotta be able to play solo. Of course, the team game is always going to be important. You always want to do what's best for the team. But a lot of us, and this is just something I've thought of myself, is the fact that many of us are going to be playing for the team. We're not going to be playing for what is best to help us in general. We're just going to help the team and hopefully have it to where the team follows through with what we set up for the team. Sometimes, and especially with recent plays, and when I was looking at games, is you gotta play selfishly. You gotta be able to play where the game is a little more selfish in general. I mean, as a solo queue player, that's one thing you gotta realize, is that you gotta play a little more selfishly. You gotta be able to solo queue and do what's best for you. Sometimes your team may not look at it as you're doing what's best for them, but again, it goes into the next point, which I'm going to bring into, which is reason 5. Reason 5, ego. Your ego is just too big. Maybe you just have a big ego. Maybe you just are, egotistical. You think that you deserve to be higher rank when really you're not. I mean, that's what the ranking system is all about. If you can't get past, for instance, in Apex Legends, you can't get past gold rank, then you deserve to be in gold rank. That doesn't mean you're going to be hard stuck there, but a lot of times you deserve to be in gold rank because you are a gold tier player. That is how you are going to play. That's who you are. That's exactly what you will be. So a lot of times your ego may be too big, and you've got to learn to tame that ego and realize that, hey, I got here for a reason, and I'm going to be in this rank for a reason. So keep that in mind. Your ego needs to be tamed. The next reason, or 6th reason, why you might not be improving in any FPS game is you're playing too many characters. In hero-based shooters like Overwatch, in hero-based shooters like Darren, in hero-based shooters like Apex Legends, you may be bloody much playing too many characters. And because you're playing way too many characters, you're going to basically get punished every single time. As it is, you're a user of all but a master of none. And by being a user of all but a master of none, you basically end up short-terming yourself to where you will only be able to go okay, I can get to this far, and then I'm going to be nowhere. I'm on a plateau because I can't get anywhere else. this happens a lot. I mean, this can even happen to me. This happens to me a lot. Where, like, for instance, when I'm playing Valorant, I just play. There are way too many characters. And because there are way too many characters, I just play every single character. Well, not recently. Recently, I've been only playing Viper and Jet. But even then, that goes into my next tip, which I'll talk about in a little bit, is that factor of I'm not mastering one type of style or one type of play. Which brings me into the next tip, which is number 7. And that is the factor of you are playing too many different classes. Or you're playing too many different roles. Alright, playing too many different roles, this happens in any game that has a role-based system. You look at Overwatch, you look at Valorant, you look at MOBAs like League of Legends. If you're playing too many different roles at once, you're never going to master that one role. So, for instance, in the case of Valorant, as an example, one of the main roles that you could play is like controller, a sentinel, a duelist, an initiator. And those are the roles that you can play. But you have to decide what is the role that you want to play. Because a lot of times the role that you may want to play may not be for you, which is actually the next reason I'm going to bring into. But figure out your role and figure out who you want to play. Once you figure out that role that you like and that role that you want to play, then you gotta decide on who you're going to master. 2 characters at most. If you have to have a third character, have a third character. But make sure that you kind of stay within the same class and within the same role. That way, there's no confusion. Which brings me into the next reason why you might not be improving at all. You are basically causing the problem by learning too many different roles. You may know you may focus on being one role or another, and that's great. But if you are not focusing on being one particular role and that role entirely, then you won't know exactly. You won't be able to exactly have the perfect rollouts, the perfect setups, the perfect whatever. And that's something that you gotta realize. So, reason number 9 that you may not be improving is the fact that you are just not putting in the time. I mean, this could be something that happens a lot. It's just you're not putting enough time into the game. If you can only play the game, like, for instance, Overwatch, once a week, and that's all the time you can play into the game, then you're not putting enough time into Overwatch to be successful. I know this is tough for some players. Some players may think, why would you say that you are not putting in enough time? Why would you say that I'm not doing enough to help myself in the game? Well, I mean, a lot of times, you're just not putting enough time into the game. You gotta be dedicated to Apex Legends. You gotta be dedicated to Overwatch. You gotta be dedicated to whatever game you are currently playing. Because at the end of the day, that's something that you gotta be understanding of. You gotta be, able to realize and understand that, hey, I'm going to put in time to be this player, this person, and I'm going to use that time wisely to invest myself into Apex Legends, Overwatch, whatever the game is. And keep that in mind, that you gotta invest time. So you can't just play I would never recommend you play 14 hours on one day and then all of a sudden just not play again until next week. You gotta play every day and in small increments, 3 hours, 4 hours, however amount of time you can dedicate to the game. And you just gotta make sure that you play almost every day when you can. And with that being said, that's something else that you gotta think about. The last thing you gotta be able to, at least in my opinion, you gotta be able to realize when it comes to getting better in any Apex game, like Apex Legends, FPS, or whatever it is just play, with the mindset of improvement. I know that this may seem like a weird last tip, but When you play with the mindset of improving and improving and improvement, you'll get better. This doesn't mean that when you lose, you just forget about the loss. Analyze the loss, and you have time. Record your gameplay and look back at the game and say, hey, what can I do to improve the game? What can I do to make myself better for next time? And once you know what you can do to make yourself better for next time, you move forward. You basically move forward, and you basically continue with where you need to continue, because that will help you going forward in the game. But you have to play with the improvement mindset in mind. You have to play knowing that no matter if I win or lose, each game is a basis for me to improve. And when I know what I have to do to improve, I can move forward. And moving forward is pretty much where you want to go from there. So don't just go into the point of thinking that I have to be winning all the time. Because if you go with the mindset of you have to win every time, you have to win every day, every night, no matter how much you do, you just gotta win. You're not going to improve, or you may not realize if you're winning, if you're improving. A lot of players do have the mindset of, when I win, I'm improving. When I lose, I'm terrible. I just am like, that's just, I'm so bad. I'm bad at this game. This game is terrible for me. And that's something that you gotta get yourself out of the mindset for. Is that, wins and losses are only a small portion of what you can do. If you can record your gameplay, you can watch VOD review, whatever you can do to look back at your past or previous experiences, then you will improve dramatically and you will see improvement. But until you can start VOD reviewing, until you can start just like taking a look back and taking a step back and going like, okay, what did I do wrong this game so I can improve it next game? I mean, you should have seen me in the past. A lot of my past videos, the games where I highlighted on my stream, because I was just like, oh my gosh, I got this crazy win, or whatever the case is. A lot of that was just like, me being kind of naive, if you will. Me having my ego kind of just go bloated, if you will. And, that's something that, I want you to also kind of realize yourself, is the fact that, yeah, I mean, sure, it's okay to have your ego a little bit bloated. Your ego kind of be stoked a little bit for whatever reason. But, at the end of the day, you also got to remember that there were probably a lot of mistakes that you made that you just didn't really realize. I mean, even looking back at some of my, even looking back at some of my stuff that I've looked back at now, and, in Apex Legends or whatever I've done, I'm wondering, like, okay, I made a lot of mistakes, but I didn't go punished for it. How the heck did I go punished for it? And, that's, like, one thing I think about when I look forward in Darren now. And I hope that these videos and these tips have helped you a little bit to improve. We'll have more tips and more stuff to go in detail with later on. But these are just some small things to help you improve going forward. And I hope that these tips have helped you improve. These tips have helped you look at things a little bit more under the scope, if you will. And that's something that I hope it is looked at, and you do in turn just you do in turn just look back at your games and decide or understand what was happening and what's going on. But with that being said, thank you everyone for watching this video. Thank you for joining me on this video. Somewhere in this video, you of course probably saw the plugins to the Twitch, to subscribe, and all that stuff. I hope to see you all in the next video. But until the next one, everybody. Yeah, hope these tips have helped you. Hopefully, you're going to be starting on the road to improvement. But until the next one, everybody. Farewell, everyone.